was killed when a speeding car hit him. After those deadly crashes across the county, Lakeland residents called on the city to do something.
Much rather get the program going, get the kids safer, and then be able to add to it, if we can.
On Monday, they advanced an ordinance that would add school zone speed cameras to several different schools. Lakeland Police Sergeant Chad Mumbauer is the head of this initiative.
I'm looking forward to slowing people down and educating them and saying, hey, this is why we did it, how we did it.
During a study in May 2024, they found there were hundreds of violations at 8 different schools.
There are almost 850 violations a day at these locations.
They identified Lincoln Academy, Crystal Lake Elementary, Philip O'Brien Elementary, Southwest Middle, North Lakeland Elementary, Lakeland High School, Lakeland Highlands Middle School, and Sleepy Hill Elementary as the areas with the most violations. And with the cameras there, police say they could then focus on other school zones.
I think this is important because the recidivism rate, and I had to say that word again, recidivism is very low. So we're hoping that if you get one and you travel the same way, you'll watch your speed again. It's no different than a red light camera.
The Polk County School District is in one of the fastest growing areas in the entire nation, which means more cars on the road. One of the reasons the city is taking this so seriously, hoping to eventually get all of the schools covered with these cameras.
We were going to do all just because how could I tell one child's parents that one was more important? So I think we were going to try to do everyone.
If approved and once the cameras are installed, Lakeland Police would hold a public awareness campaign for 30 days before the fines would start. After that, violators could face a $100 fine for speeding in those zones. The second reading and the public hearing for this ordinance is scheduled for June 2nd. 8 months ago, Hurricane Helene rocked our beaches, damaged our homes and businesses for miles. Now, a family-owned hotel in Sunset Beach is back open just in time for the Memorial Day weekend. The Roth Hotel's owners say nearly 9 feet of storm surge pummeled the hotel, destroying almost everything. As Fox 13's Kaylee Tracy reports, they want the reopening to symbolize hope for Sunset Beach.
This is just, I don't even know where to start.
When Craig Rothschild got back to his family's hotel in Sunset Beach after Hurricane Helene, nothing prepared him for what he found.
The place was decimated. I mean, we got hit so hard. You just have to stay positive, and there's really nothing you could do.
He owns the Roth Hotel with his parents. They watched the water rise on the security camera video until the feed cut off.
It was scary. I even get emotional talking about it, but watching your baby get 9.5 feet of water is sad. It's hard. We didn't know what the future held. We had worked so hard to build this place, and it just washed away in a matter of a few hours.
Rothschild and his family bought and renovated the hotel that was built in 1954 in 2021.
We were on track to have the best year in 2024, and the hurricane came in September.
They got their permit to rebuild the 14-room boutique hotel in February.
The water came up this high in all of these units.
The AC units that are higher up did survive.
There were doors and windows and all sorts of debris from the neighbors that had washed in here, and we actually couldn't even get into this front walkway. It was so packed with piles of debris and anywhere from huge tanks from propane and all this stuff. So we slowly, one item at a time, moved it out to the curb and just picked away at it.
Picking away at it and rebuilding until they were able to welcome guests back recently.
I think it symbolizes hope.
Kaylee Tracy, Fox 13 News.
The owners say they raised the outlets up higher during the rebuild and made some other upgrades in case there's another storm. The Roth Hotel is completely booked for this Memorial Day weekend. The shops on Corey Avenue in St. Pete Beach recently hosted a big party, and the entire community was invited. They were celebrating the neighborhood's resilience after making it through last year's storms. They were also cheering on a historic gym as it makes its grand reopening. Fox 13's Regina Gonzalez spoke with several local business owners about what the recovery process has been like and what it means to be back up and running again.
Like so many businesses across St. Pete Beach, storm surge and wind damage from back-to-back hurricanes last fall completely destroyed stores, restaurants, and even a theater that sits along popular Corey Avenue.
We have been closed for 3 months, and after that, we got a lot of work to do, and we have like 30 vendors that rely on the store.
It was pretty bad in here. It's hard to imagine when you look at it now, but when you first opened the door, the front window was broken, and sand was in, water was in, there's stains all over it, and everything was just laying all over the place.
Everything was soaked in that dirty water, so naturally everything was lost. We lost like almost over 80% of our inventory.
While the cleanup was a shocking and painful process, shop owners like Elizabeth Novak tell us it was reassuring to see just how many people came together to help them, from their Corey Avenue neighbors to complete strangers.
You had the dumpster of each corner of the street filled with all the damaged items, clothing, store fixtures. I mean, it was just something out of like a war zone. But we all came together.
Some of the locations are still not open up on the street, but we're getting closer, so every day is a moving forward, and we're looking forward to the rest of the stores being able to open.
Saturday was a celebration of just that, as Corey Avenue invited the entire city to a block party featuring the lighting of the historic Beach Theater, a ribbon cutting, and a huge celebration honoring their grand reopening and their resilience.
It's not just a celebration of us coming open and giving a chance for, our artists to come back and get to work and help put some normalcy to their lives, but it's a celebration of the community also coming together and support us. I mean, they were all dealing with so much, but at the same time, they were so great to all the businesses here.
Oh, it is absolutely the greatest feeling. It's emotional, but we are back. And we're not going away.
In fact, they're coming back better than ever. In St. Pete Beach, Regina Gonzalez, Fox 13 News.
If last hurricane season taught us anything, it's be ready. Coming up, how one local county is working to make sure history doesn't repeat itself. The 2025 hurricane season starts June 1st, and it comes as some people in Manatee County are still rebuilding and recuperating after last year's brutal storms. Fox 13's Kimberly Cuizon checked in with emergency managers there to see what lessons they've learned heading into this season.
The 2024 storm season threw everything it had at Manatee County. Flooding from Tropical Storm Debbie.
It was either get out or save the vehicles or wait for a boat.
A storm surge from Hurricane Helene that forever changed Anna Maria Island.
Everything in my home, it destroyed both of my cars. My life is on curb right now.
And then Milton, the Category 3 storm that caused $351 million in damage throughout Manatee County.
I just want to rebuild, get it finished, and I think we're probably going to say goodbye to Florida.
It's just been finished yesterday.
Many months later, people are still working to rebuild.
You can tell, everybody's doing something.
And as a new storm season arrives, emergency planners are applying the lessons they learned from last year's storms. Jody Fisk is the director of public safety for Manatee County.
You really take a hard look at what could we have done better.
This year, Manatee County is partnering with a company called Peregrine. It gathers real-time data from across the county to show exactly what's happening in the moment.
We're monitoring our shelter census. We are able to track road closures.
It can even help direct first responders to areas that are flooding.
We're actually going to be able to, utilizing AI technology, pull keywords from 911 calls that are coming in,
allowing them to start rescues before it's too late, while informing Public Works about lift stations that stop working, causing backups that lead to more flooding.
This is removing that stress level from our responders and putting these things into a dashboard that are automatically going to be populated for us.
One of the greatest challenges Manatee County experienced in 2024 was the sand. So much of it wound up in places it didn't belong.
We were not prepared for experiencing the same kind of storm runover across the island that we experienced. It brought most of the sand from our beaches and our dunes and put it into private property, onto parking lots and roads.
That sand had to be sifted and sorted. Clean sand went back to the beach, but many loads were contaminated and removed. That sand has been saved for future road projects.
It's taught us the value of these beaches here on Anna Maria Island. A healthy beach is one that took the energy of the storm.
Charlie Hunsinger, the director of Manatee County's Natural Resources Department, says restoring the beaches of Anna Maria Island is now key.
The dunes did their jobs, and so as soon as we can get our dunes back, and that's something we'll be working on this year and next, we'll get that hurricane protection back in again.
As residents work to find a new sense of life after the storms, emergency planners say they walk away from the 2024 season with the biggest lesson of all.
Respect for the storm's energy and respect for the hardworking people who responded after that emergency every day, every night, every weekend.
Kimberly Cuizon, Fox 13 News.
Last year, Debbie, Helene, and Milton all made significant impacts to the Tampa Bay area. Most of it came from storm surge, which is the most dangerous part of a hurricane. Meteorologist Valerie Mills shows us why understanding the storm surge risk where you live is so important.
It was the storm season Tampa Bay dodged for a century.
We have never had any experience like this before.
We've waited out so many storms that this one, it was different.
Last year, Hurricane Helene brought historic storm surges to Florida's west coast. Davis Island saw over 7 feet of water, Clearwater 6.7 feet, and over 6 feet in St. Pete. Several barrier islands were completely covered with water.
It was the ocean was in your house for 12 hours.
Helene passed Tampa Bay about 100 miles off the west coast, far from a direct hit, but was larger than 90% of similar storms, allowing it to push more water onto our coast, with a wind field extending hundreds of miles from the hurricane center. The force of the winds swirling around a hurricane create a vertical circulation in the ocean. Once it gets close enough to land, the water has nowhere to go except up and inland, creating an abnormal rise of water. As we saw last year, storm surge can even travel up rivers and canals, reaching well inland from the coastline.
Lots of people down there, their homes are underwater. Awful.
Now, if you combine record storm surge with high tide, water levels can reach up to 20, even 30 feet in extreme cases. That's when high storm surge warning signs like this one, towering over Highway 41, can become a dangerous reality. The angle at which a storm hits the coastline, intensity, and speed all affect storm surge.
Higher than 3 feet will flood streets and float away most cars. When surge reaches 6 feet, one-story homes will start filling with water. And a 12-foot storm surge would fill the entire first floor of most businesses and homes, even knocking buildings off their foundation.
And Florida's west coast is particularly at risk because the Gulf is shallower compared to deeper Atlantic waters, which forces a higher surge on shore. Now, how much would be underwater if a hurricane hit Tampa Bay? For a Category 2 landfall, 5 to 8 feet of water can come ashore, meaning even some inland areas will see water. 9 to 12 feet of surge comes with a Category 3 storm, along with extensive wind damage, and it gets worse from there. 13 to 18 feet of water can even reach inland homes with a Category 4 storm. The damage would be extreme. And with a Category 5 hurricane, many of our coastal communities would be under several feet of water because the storm surge would swell above 18 feet. The water would reach much farther inland, bringing catastrophic damage. Both Helene and Milton are harsh reminders of how vulnerable this area is and how quickly conditions can change.
When I started the car and started loading the important things, the road was still visible. And then within 20 minutes, the road was gone.
Bottom line, we could see higher storm surge and more inland impacts than we did during Helene. Know your risk and have an evacuation plan so you're ready to react regardless of what comes this hurricane season. Valerie Mills, Fox 13 News.
The governor says it'll bring more freedom to Florida, and some boat owners agree.
I think that will, in my opinion, repair a lot of trust.
Up next, the new Florida law that'll change who law enforcement can pull over out on the water. This week, the governor signed a batch of bills that makes changes to how boating works in Florida. He calls it the Boater Freedom Act, which, among other things, changes how police officers pull boats over. That means the days of being stopped just for a safety check are almost over. As Fox 13's Evan Axelbank reports, the governor hopes that will lead to a new kind of relationship between boaters and police.
Boaters in Florida know it takes a good reason, a bad reason, or no reason to be stopped for a safety check.
When I was younger, operating a recreational boat, cruising through the waterways, you see a police boat and you immediately are, what's going to happen? Are they going to pull me over?
Those days will be over on July 1st, when a new law goes into effect that requires law enforcement to have probable cause that a law is being broken before stopping a boat, just like on land. Only then will they be allowed to check for life vests, flares, or air horns.
To just go in without any basis is not the way we want to do it in the state of Florida. And I think it's unnecessarily created friction between the boating community and some folks in law enforcement.
Now, a law enforcement officer will have to suspect that there's boating under the influence, speeding, or some kind of other violation taking place before they make a stop. The governor hopes that'll make crime fighting more efficient. Dylan Hubbard, a Johns Pass tour guide, points out the new rules do not impact stops of anyone who is fishing, a relief to him, given the need to protect fisheries.
They're able to pull you over still to check your catch. So it doesn't harm the ability for FWC to be able to do resource checks, which is, I think, very important. Because it's already difficult enough. There's not enough enforcement officers out there.
The governor cited an anecdotal story about a boater who was pulled over 3 times in one day, saying that even in a state that he bills as being devoted to law and order, individual rights are still important. The Boater Freedom Act requires counties to set up safety sticker programs in their registration offices.
The way we do things in America is government's supposed to leave you alone. If there's something you're doing that gives law enforcement a basis.
And Evan tells us the new bill also blocks local governments from banning the sale of gas-powered boats. It goes into effect on July 1st. We all know Tampa's Museum of Science and Industry for the exciting educational opportunities it offers thousands of children each year. Mosey could soon share its land with a brand new indoor sports complex. It's something county leaders have been working on for more than a decade, and as Fox 13's Aaron Mesmer reports, they just took a big step forward to making it a reality.
Tampa's Museum of Science and Industry sits on 74 acres of land, but only uses a fraction of it. That might change in the coming years. County leaders are hoping to build an indoor sports complex right next door, and they're not shy about how successful they believe it could be.
This will be the catalyst for the most, I believe, most transformative economic development project Hillsborough County has ever been associated with.
During a recent Hillsborough County Commission meeting, the board listened to a proposal to build a 174,000 square foot indoor sports complex on Mosey's property. We're told the plan would likely see the museum's old, out-of-use buildings repurposed or redeveloped. The facility would include 12 basketball and 24 volleyball courts. Mosey's CEO believes it would be a great addition.
A facility adjacent to ours that brings in tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people in family units looking for things to do throughout the year sounds like an absolute home run to me.
Motion carried 7-0.
A proposal to dig deeper into this plan passed unanimously this month. A major reason why the land around Mosey is already owned by the county.
It's an area where there's tremendous redevelopment going on, both from the university, from Mosey itself, and from some of the surrounding hotel and restaurant venues.
Commissioners believe this would be as successful as the county's Sportsplex, an outdoor facility that opened in 2018 and has exceeded the county's revenue expectations.
There's a lot of expectation of generated hotel nights, economic activity, and real growth that could be expected from this type of a project.
And this would be the latest project in the university area that's seeing a development boom. USF is getting a new football stadium. The University Mall is being redeveloped. And Mosey recently opened the second largest planetarium in the U.S.
The beauty of it is it's with Mosey at the heart of it and doing everything that's going to support Mosey's growth while Mosey can support the establishment and growth of these other entities in a very symbiotic relationship.
That was Aaron Mesmer reporting. The county plans to use $2 million from the 2010 BP oil spill settlement that was already earmarked for this type of project. Coming up, celebrating G.I. Joe. You'll meet the man who designed many of the iconic toys. The G.I. Joe franchise has been around since the mid-1960s. But did you know that a Bay Area artist designed many of those iconic action figures? As Fox 13 photojournalist Barry Wong shows us, he's still designing figures today, and many will feel familiar for fans of the G.I. Joe franchise.
I'm working on Operation Recall, and this is a flamethrower figure. I've done all of his initial work, and now I just need to come up with different backpack and weapon ideas. I was there almost 3 years. Boy, I know I've done over 50, maybe 100 plus figures. If you look on that wall right there, I've done about 3/4 of those Joes. Fans put out these books. This is volume 4, years 88 to 89. So we have a meeting and we decide which theme Joes we want to do. We need a grenade launcher guy. This is one of the theme characters that I was talking about earlier, Hardball. We needed a grenade launcher, so we just came up with a baseball themed typed character. This was kind of cool, Shockwave. I called the Rhode Island SWAT department and asked them if I could come in and draw their tool belts, their rigs, and their vest and all this stuff so that I could use reference for making him. Hit and Run is the first Joe that shows no skin color whatsoever because I wanted to do a totally camouflage guy. Greg Burnson from Hasbro came in to the school and interviewed a bunch of us, and because of my background, everybody was a good artist. Any one of the guys could have done it. But because of my background, I think I got picked above everyone else. Spent my 18th birthday in boot camp. I did my 3 years. I was a combat engineer, so 6 months out of the year we did military training, and 6 months out of the year we did construction. It helps a lot because just knowing what weapons look like, right? Shot grenade launchers. Then you got a bank of ideas and stuff in your head. You know, here we are 40 years later and we're redesigning some stuff for Operation Recall. We're doing new Joes. It was a fan-generated thing and it's a great Kickstarter, and they brought me back in. This was kind of a cool character. The young man was in the military and I think he had a leg removed. They wanted to do like a ninja character with a prosthetic leg. And Joe had never done that before, so Operation Recall decided to do it. A young man came up with this idea. He was only 10 years old. He came up with a character called Clanker and Tank. And he wanted to see a Galapagos turtle turned into a G.I. Joe. So that's what I did. Again, it was only a 3-year job, and I didn't think that it would carry over 40 years later. But these young men who played with these Joes, they're all grown up now. I'll have grown men, 35, 40-year-old men come up to me in tears, telling me how their dad had to drive through the snow to get this certain Joe that they wanted, or it inspired them to go in the military, inspired them to become firemen, inspired them to do, all these different things.
Pennington's studio is at the Warehouse Arts District in St. Pete. He loves to meet fans during the city's monthly Saturday art walks. Well, it's Tico with the assist. This week, they helped the Raptor Center of Tampa Bay with a rescue in Apollo Beach. The company used their lift to rescue an osprey tangled in a fishing line. In this case, whoever snagged the osprey cut the fishing line. That's something rescuers will tell you you should never do. The bird flew back to her nest with the hook and line still attached, getting even more tangled. But as Fox 13's Jordan Bowen reports, she's now getting much needed rehab.
This female osprey, now named Symphony, is doing well after a painful encounter with a hook and fishing line.
We were notified Sunday morning that there was a bird hung up in the platform. So we sent some volunteers out to look, and we did see the line.
In this photo, you can actually see the fishing line hanging from the nest on this platform where the female osprey, her mate, and 2 babies were when she got tangled up in the line. Nancy Murrow with the Raptor Center of Tampa Bay says the osprey got tangled in one of 6 fishing lines a homeowner in Apollo Beach left out. The same people then cut the line when she got tangled. That's when she flew back to the nest with the hook and line still attached to her.
Within 35 minutes, he had a bucket truck there. We had gotten the maintenance people. They had to move some pylons to get the truck out to where the platform was. And they sent someone up. We had a volunteer on the ground, and we got the bird down.
TECO workers jumped into action, providing one of their bucket trucks so volunteers could retrieve the bird and safely remove the line and the hook.
It was kind of heart-wrenching when the guy got up there with the bucket. She jumped and she tried to fly, and of course she was caught by the line, and that is the reason we were able to get her, because then she was very slowly lowered to the ground by that line.
A team effort to save a mother osprey. Murrah says her baby should be just fine with the dad while she's rehabbed.
She has a very good mate who was this entire time not only feeding the two chicks that are in the nest, which are big, full-size osprey, but he was also feeding her.
For now, Murrah says they'll monitor Symphony and wait for her wing to heal and puncture wound to close before she's released back into the wild and able to return to the nest.
If you're going to fish, go out there and fish responsibly. Make sure to remove all your fishing line. Don't leave anything around. Take what you take out there with you and take it back in.
You can find a link to local rehabbers at our website, fox13news.com. Coming up on Take Two, the adventures of George. It's like the stuff of the movies.
If I had got stuck at the SPCA, I would have called an Uber. All right, but George didn't have that option.
George didn't need an Uber, just his own 4 legs. His unlikely trip from the vet's office to his home, 2 spots that were miles apart. If Disney ever makes another sequel to Homeward Bound, we've got a nominee for the role of the sassy cat. George lives with a family in Lakeland, and after a recent trip to the vet for surgery, he decided to check himself out of the animal hospital early. As Fox 13's Evan Moon reports, George was homeward bound even though home was 3 miles away.
Where's George?
This courageous cat has a tale to tell.
He was able to pop that cage open and he sprung out of there and he was gone in seconds.
George the cat went to SPCA Florida to get neutered, but turned into a feline fugitive on an impossible mission. Escaping from staff and into the record books of backyard legends.
George was able to bust out of the trap, and he literally scaled some dog fencing and went into the woods, and our staff were literally hoisting each other up over the fences to try to chase George to capture him.
The SPCA employees ran off into the woods to find him, and they're not going to chase down a cat. That's not going to happen.
And George, even for a cat, wasn't thinking clearly.
so he still had silly drugs in his system.
But miraculously, days later, George made it miles back home to his parents. His owner describes his journey.
If I had got stuck at the SPCA, I would have called an Uber. All right, but George didn't have that option. But coming back from there, he has to go through 2 or 3 subdivisions. He has to go around a lake, another lake that's between us and the SPCA, and probably 5 or 6 roads.
A CAT behavioralist explained their incredible internal navigation.
So evolutionarily, they've evolved to be able to naturally find that way back. And we think that it's due to a combination of scent or visual markers and possibly geomagnetism.
And the truth is, they love their humans.
Contrary to popular belief, cats are very attached to us, so they will want to find their way back home eventually.
And it's certain, George's human loves him too.
So I was distraught. I mean, and heartbroken. He needed a human touch, and that's what he got.
Evan Moon, Fox 13 News.
For this week's Made in Tampa Bay segment, we're headed to a veteran-owned restaurant in Dunedin. A couple there is bringing their love of the Hawaiian Islands to Tampa Bay. Here's a look at the Honu Restaurant and Tiki Bar.
There's many people that come here that say, I feel like I'm in Hawaii, I don't feel like I'm in Dunedin. This is the Hawaiian Honu Restaurant and Tiki Bar, a Hawaiian style spin on classic tiki and Hawaiian culture.
I think the vision came the more we visited Hawaii, and we started with a food truck and we were like, we're going to do something more permanent. The feel and the family and the relationship that we have with a lot of the friends that we have in Hawaii, we want to bring here and make everybody else feel that as well. When people come in here, most people are in this mindset that they're here to relax, and if you have other people around you that are in that mode, everybody else is too. The fact that we don't have TVs, people are like, what do you mean you don't have a TV at a bar? That's unreal. Well, you're not watching the politics or the stuff that's going on that nobody wants to see right now. You are just seeing the creativity, the good cocktails, the good food, and you're listening to good music, live music, and I think their blood pressure just immediately goes down when that happens.
So the Hawaiian fish that we get is straight from Hawaii. We get it from Oahu, a place called Norpac, and we get it within like 2 days. So it's really about the freshness, and that's something that's very unique to us. We've put the Loco Moco back on the menu, and that's very traditional Hawaiian. We have musubi, and our friends that are the Polynesian dancers that come and do our luau's, every time they come, when they're about 15 minutes away, they order 25 to 30, no matter, depending on how many people are there. Fire dancing plate is always a staple. It's got chicken and shrimp and a citrus, pineapple sauce. People love that. And our poo-poo platters, we do have a new street taco on, which has Hawaiian fish. So that's my mindset of it. I want to keep the things that people know us for, but also keep changing the spin on things.
You're going to know you're going to get a great cocktail here. We use all fresh ingredients. We make our own syrups in-house from scratch, and we use really high-end spirits. So what we're doing is we're educating a lot of people with what the classics really are. So, we have an original Mai Tai that's from 1944, Trader Vic made. So when people get a Mai Tai and it's not red or it doesn't have the floater and the pineapple juice, they're like, that's not a Mai Tai. I'm like, well, it is. Let me show you what a real Mai Tai is. I was a 31 Bravo, which is military police. I was stationed in Stuttgart, Germany. I deployed to Afghanistan for a year. I went from being not a great kid and doing bad things to being on the opposite end of that spectrum and, being a police officer in Germany, working with the Polizei and being able to, arrest some of the bad guys. And then being in Afghanistan and deploying and seeing, kind of what the Afghanis and I've helped train their police force as well. I think a lot of what I learned in the military was leadership. I led guys downrange, and that was like, their life is in my hands. That's something that's huge.
We're really happy with what we produced here and the place that we bring for the community as well as for our staff. We love this, what we do, and we love being together. And working and playing together, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work, but here we are. And I couldn't see being with anybody else. Nobody would put up with each of us.
The Honu is located at 516 Grant Street in Dunedin. To see a full list of menu items, cocktails, and special events, head to thehonurestaurant.com. It might be a dream for a lot of us, owning your own island, your own slice of paradise. That was the dream for one group of friends until they realized it's a lot more tricky than it may seem. Their struggle is next. Have you ever dreamed of owning a tropical island? I think we all have. Take a look at this. The sun, the sand, the warm breeze, just you and maybe a few of your closest friends. That thought brought a group of friends together and they turned their dream into a reality because they bought an island. But as Fox 13's Lloyd Sowers shows us, owning an island has its ups and downs and it can change with the tides.
It only takes a few minutes to get there, but you'd better have a boat. It is the only way to reach the shores of a dream come true. The dream of your own tropical island.
When we first bought the island, I was pinching myself, not sure if I was dreaming.
Oh, but it was real. Cole Weaver and his friends bought an island in Tampa Bay, and there was more to the dream.
Try to really make it the people's island and really try to make it a family-friendly destination for people to come to.
Yet the locals have landed on this sand for years, calling it Beer Can Island. Its new owners built a rockin' tiki bar and playground.
So anchor up and fill your cup on Beer Can Island. Ain't that right?
On the fun meter, it was high times.
On a scale from 1 to 10, we'll call it a 16.
And on a scale of experiences,
it's been life-changing for me in a lot of ways.
Life-changing for co-owner Johnny Gadd, who can't even count the ways, or the thousands of people who came to the island to be entertained. They needed a lot of stuff.
Ice and water and, even, first aid and stuff like that. That's what would really make it a complete, destination. And that's what we were trying to do, is make it a destination.
But the destination raised questions of zoning and code enforcement. There wasn't even a category for a private island that invites the public. And talking to people at the county, well, it can be frustrating, Cole tells me.
Because they don't always communicate with each other as efficiently as you would think they would.
But as sure as dreamers are drawn to tropical islands, so are hurricanes.
In the back of my mind, I knew something like this was going to happen one day.
Beer Can Island was raked by not one, but 2 hurricanes.
This was like an umbrella area, just that we put these all over the island for just shade purposes, places to hang out.
But the power of hanging out could win out. They haven't given up the dream. Just yet.
So we're looking to finish up zoning this year so we can build some more hurricane resistant structures.
So you want to own your own private island? Listen, the devil is in the details.
Johnny has advice.
Check with the county before you decide to make grand plans.
Oh, make the grand plans. They haven't stopped.
I'd like to put in some pylons in the ground and build like a 2nd-story restaurant out here. A small tiki restaurant.
As the sun fades away, setting fire to the bay.
Plans can change like the tides on this island. They once had it for sale for $14.2 million.
I think it's one of those things that it's always for sale, but until we get the price that we're looking for, we're going to continue on with the plans that we put in place.
But think of this. What if the dream isn't owning your own island, but what you gain just trying to get there?
Priceless memories, for sure. Priceless memories. There's the answer.
Even with an uncertain future, they hang on to Beer Can Island. For all the challenges, they just can't give up what so many search for, their own tropical island.
On Beer Can Island, oh yeah!
Lloyd Towers, Fox 13 News.
We called Planning and Zoning in Hillsborough County to see what kind of zoning requirements might be needed for Beer Can Island. We're still waiting to hear back. We have another way to enjoy the great outdoors here in the Bay Area and maybe even stay cool. A special tour of Lithia Springs Park is next. In this week's Drone Zone, we're going up above Lithia Springs Park. As Fox 13 photojournalist Craig Cross shows us, it's one of the best places to cool off in the summertime.
We are a park that is 160 acres, consisting of nature trails, camping, as well as our main attraction, which is our natural Florida spring. It's directly fed up through the Florida aquifer beneath our feet, keeping it a nice cool 72 degrees all year round. Hi, I'm Oscar and welcome to Lithia Springs Conservation Park. So the spring itself is fed through the Florida aquifer right beneath our feet. That's what keeps it 72 degrees all year round. And that's why people like to come in the spring, whether it's the coldest day of the year or the hottest day of the year. Although we typically do see more people during the summer than the winter. So the spring itself, although there is a pool section right here, what we like to call the run is what directly feeds into the Alafaya River. That part is strictly under conservation, so no one is allowed within that area, although you can still admire it from outside the buoy lines. And within this side is where the swimming actually takes place. So the swimming here at Lithia Springs is sectioned off into two different phases. We have the first morning session, which runs from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., followed by the afternoon session, which is from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. We like to have 600 unique swimmers, which means that you can only choose one time slot of swimming per day, but it gives more people a greater chance to swim as well. So it's a combination of factors to limit the number of swimmers within the spring for both capacity as well as environmental reasons. It's nice having a lot of people that get to enjoy the spring, but there is such thing as too many at once within the spring area because at the end of the day we are trying to conserve this area, protect it, and too many people at once would often result in some damage leading to the spring. If you're used to swimming in the fresh water, you're going to be much more accustomed to the water here, but if you are new to the area, it's still really nice to get to enjoy really refreshing water on the hottest of days. It really cools you off, and I see hundreds of families come in and out every day to get to enjoy the water. Second to the spring, I'd say our campsites are the most visited spots throughout our park. We have 45 of them, all have electricity and water just to make their stay much more enjoyable. All the camping for Hillsborough County is first come, first serve. So unlike state and national parks, people always have an option and a chance to get a spot the day of if they'd like. Because we are first come, first serve, they are pretty competitive. I like to recommend coming here as early as possible just to secure that site because you do get some benefits once you're camping with us. You do get your own swim passes, which are good for all day. We have started our remodeling of our playground. It was sectioned off into two large groups with multiple swing sets and multiple monkey bars, but we are getting a brand new playground that's going to be even bigger and better, I'd say. Much more shaded areas as well as benches and picnic tables. So we have some shelters, although they are first come, first served throughout the summer. If you are looking to reserve a shelter, I'd say check around the winter time on our off season when they are reservable. So connected here with Lithia Springs Park, we do have the Fishhawk Nature Preserve. It's a preserve that connects to our park, and oftentimes we see that a lot of people get to enjoy different wildlife spottings as well as just a nice peaceful walk throughout nature. The best thing about my job is that I not only get to help people enjoy nature, but I get to protect it as well. Getting to work outside in such a lovely place and getting to see people enjoy being outdoors as much as they can, it's an extremely rewarding feeling. So whether you're close to us or not, I definitely recommend coming to check us out here at Lithia Springs Park. Whether you want to swim, hike, or camp with us, you'll have a blast either way. I highly, highly recommend Lithia Springs Park.
That's it for this edition of Take Two on Fox 13. You can find the latest news, weather, and sports on the Fox Local app and at fox13news.com.
Florida Live starts now.
Good afternoon to you and welcome into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Weimer. Thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local, fox13news.com, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. Coming up later in the show, we're going to be talking about the potential impact of Trump's threats of tariffs against Apple if they don't move production of the iPhone to the United States. We're talking with a Florida economist about that and the larger trade negotiations and trade wars going on across the world right now. Questions over Hope Florida deepen as an investigation has been opened, according to a report. We're going to talk about that with Lawrence Maurer and Alexandra Glorioso from the Tampa Bay Times and Miami Herald. So an interesting conversation coming up with them in just a little bit. We're also in our Tampa connection going to hear about a man accused of setting a house on fire while his roommates slept, now facing multiple charges. He also has quite the criminal history. We'll talk about that with Nancy coming up in just a few minutes. But we are heading into a long weekend. Give you a live look at Daytona Beach from our Hard Rock Hotel camera there along the coastline. You can see folks out there already soaking up the sun and enjoying the waves as on this Friday, heading into, like I said, a 3-day weekend for many people. But we are also getting closer to the start of hurricane season. Want to bring in Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, who joins us now. And Laurel, the countdown is really on, and we're starting to get more looks as far as what the outlook could be for that upcoming hurricane season.
Yeah, Garrett, those outlooks are coming out from different organizations, and a lot of them do seem to be on the same page. But it's crazy to think that we're only 8 days out from the start of hurricane season, which is June 1st. I feel like we just stopped talking about the 2024 hurricane season, and now we're getting geared up for the start of 2025. So 8 days is the countdown. And yesterday, NOAA came out with their 2025 season outlook for the hurricane season ahead. And here's ultimately what they had to say. Starting off, they're expecting an above average year, but ultimately not as busy as what we were seeing in 2024. So they are calling for a 60% chance of seeing that activity above normal for hurricane activity, a 30% chance of near normal activity, and a 10% chance of below normal activity. This is just really a fancy way of saying is that it's still going to be busy. However, it's not going to be as busy as what we were seeing last year. So let's get into the nitty gritty. Garrett, here is what NOAA is saying, taking a look at the 2025 hurricane outlook. They're going to be predicting between 13 and 19 named storms this season, 6 and 10 hurricanes, with 3 to 5 of them being major hurricanes there. And just to remind you of the average, and this has been a running total since the 1850s, 14 named storms on average, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes is the average baseline of what to see this season. And they really use that as a gauge to either figure out with other astronomical and oceanic conditions whether that is either going to be above average heading into the season ahead or below average. And these are not as high as what we were seeing last year. And just to show NOAA's credibility with these outlooks,